going to change some front brakes on a 2005 Chevy Tahoe. Need a 22mm for lug nuts. Oh, these ones haven't been changed over, so they're still Torx bits. So, alright, these are T50 Torx bit. Let me make sure that's the size. Nope. T55. Okay, I checked. I'm gonna round it over. Well, I love it when they're wicked tight. Let's see. So I'm going to take the pad holder off, the whole bracket off, and then I'll just slide the caliper out. It's 18mm for the 2 bolts that hold the caliper bracket on. Alright. Normally these don't come apart that easy, and I'll use a 3-pound hammer, and I'll just beat the back side of it where the caliper is missing, and sometimes you can rotate it and get another thing because it'll jam up sometimes, and you can only get it so far. So you just rotate it around and hit it again. So if you get any rust here, you want to clean the rust off. it looks rusty, but there's no scale or anything. It's just kind of surface, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But under normal circumstances, you're going to want to clean that off. If you got anything scaly, or if you have to knock the rotor off, you're probably going to have rust behind it. So clean that up. I say I don't really have anything other than surface rust, so I'm not going to worry about it. You could spray some type of corrosion preventer on this, so your rotors come off easier next time. Use like Never-Seez or fluid film or something of that nature. Alright, so I'll pop the pads out of this. If I can. I might have to take at least one of these out. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I don't think so. There we go. Had one. It wore a little uneven, a little bit higher on this side than this side, but this for the most part not too bad. These were in here when I bought it. I don't know what they are. Normally I use like the ceramic or the better of them. So yeah, this is actually one of the very few times that the squealer has actually worked. Like every time I have to change brakes, pretty much they're grinding on the rotor before the squealer ever makes a sound, and these ones actually worked, which is odd to me because it almost never works. Well, one more on this side than the other. But anyway, so I gotta go get a clamp. Alright, so the way I normally do this, I only use a clamp. I don't have a special tool. It's not too bad with the single piston ones, but the double ones, obviously you got to push them both at the same time. You want to go slow. If you want, you can open your bleeder up and squirt the remainder out of your caliper through the bleeder, so you don't push any dirty stuff back in. But I live in the Northeast, and 90% of the time you're not going to get that bleeder back open. So I just push it back in, and haven't really had any problems. Just make sure you're pushing straight. One of these days I'll buy a little tool. Should be good. So take my paper towel out of the way, clean these off, and then put a little bit of some caliper grease on there. Don't go crazy. A little dab will do you. I guess it can, if you put too much on, it can like seize up in there. You get like a vacuum lock when it heats up, and you can get issues. So put it up on the top where the seal's gonna be. Alright, so put some on the piston faces too. I guess anywhere you get metal on metal contact kind of keeps the corrosion down. Let's see, I don't know if these are the phalonic or aluminum or steel, whatever the pistons are normally come made out of, other materials. I know they're going to like phalonic plastic stuff for everything now, so alright, so change out this hardware. Hopefully they give me hardware that works, because I know some people say if it don't fit you got the wrong hardware, but most of the time stuff is garbage, if you ask me. So take a file, you want to clean your rust off, all the rust that's in the surfaces that these clips are going to go onto. Clean that off. It's kind of time consuming, depending on how bad it is. So what'll happen is the rust will build up in here, and it will swell, and it will open up the hardware around the pad, because the pad loops around that, and it will basically seize it up. So that's when you get where your pads don't wear right, or they get stuck on, and you get handling issues and whatever other problems you get from pads being stuck on. So anyway, I'm gonna clean this up. I'll come back when I'm done. Alright, so take this, cleaned it up, wiped it off. You can clean it up as much as you choose. So I'm gonna paint this with that caliper grease. Get all the spots that have exposed metal. Go underneath. Anywhere that the hardware sits. Both sides, obviously. So you line it up, you got a big tab, a little tab. So one, two. Okay. So let's take the pads out. I got the CarQuest, Wherever Gold. Use Wherever Gold is required. So I'm gonna look at them. I'm gonna make sure I don't have two different types of pads. They're all the same. BB927FF. That's really a little different. This one's have one tab, this one has two tabs. So, keep that in mind when you put them together. But they both have the same part number on them. Let's see. They get two tabs on, oh, the picture has two tabs on both sides, so. Well, this don't really matter. I'm gonna put the two tabs on the inside because that's how it wore first time. See this one, these two have one tab on both, one tab on each side. Not one tab on each side, but each one of them has one tab, so I guess it doesn't matter. So I'll put the two tabs on the inside because that's probably where it's gonna get a little crooked sooner. Alright. So I'll try to slip these all together while putting it together. Let's see if this pad slips in there easy peasy lemon squeezy. And it kind of does. Yep. So hopefully I can get this back together without too much struggle, because this one with the two tabs doesn't seem to want to go slide through the pad holder. So maybe I'll put that on the outside. Let's see if the one with the one tab slides through the pad holder. It probably won't. Oh well. Alright. So I'm going to do it that way then. I'm going to put the two tabs on the outside and the one tab on the inside. That way I can actually put it back together. Alright, let's see if we can do this. Might not be able to. It's going to be a pain. So What I might have to do is I might have to take that one extra tab off. It doesn't belong, because it's not letting me go through the pad holder. Yeah, I'll do that. Alright, so I just got an adapter and used the impact gun and pulled this off. So, no more fighting with it. So if you had to, I mean, you can just, I guess you could just take the ear off so they'll both slip through, and that way you can put them back together the way it came off. But I guess if you're in a pinch and you really can't get them out, that'd be a way of doing it. I mean, I guess I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, they're just wear tabs. They'll obviously, like I said, I mean, half the time they never work when I use them anyway. So I'm not too impressed by them, but I don't like to really do crappy work, whether or not it's easier. Anyway, I guess it's not a good habit to get into. Not that all my work is the best, but I guess if I can do it right, I'd rather do it right. So I only took one off. Get that back in. So you can, I should probably clean up this space here too, where it holds the pads. There isn't anything on here. Make sure it's flat. I think they like converting the hardware kits over to hex bolts, so you don't have to really deal with the star, which is good because I don't really think that that's a very good design. I don't even know why they would do that to begin with. They kind of suck. It's like, let's take something that's going to get stuck and require a lot of torque to get it off, and we'll use star bits, or torque bits. So I'll have to retorque this one after. Slide this in. Put a little bit of this caliper lube on this ears here in the front. Gotta make sure you don't get them on the edge of the pad like I did. Wipe it off. Slide that back over. Alright, so I cleaned up the rotor with some brake cleaner. Set the rotor back on. Take your caliper, orient it correctly so the hose isn't bent or twisted, and stick it back in. I get the bottom one. That'll probably be easier. Maybe. There we go. Maybe. You want it probably easy if you turn the wheel so you can go at an angle. Probably a little better than the way I'm doing it, but I'd rather fight with it than turn the wheel back and forth. I'll do it the easy way. It's a little harder, but it's faster and easier. Right? Well, that's not true. Sometimes it's easier to do it the hard way. Sometimes it's faster to do it the hard way. And other times you do it the hard way, and then you have to turn around and redo it the easy way. Whatever. Alright, so these calipers and the brackets, the torque specs on them are different for different brake codes. You'll have to get your brake code out of the dash, not the dash, but out of the glove compartment. So the 2500s are going to be different. I don't know if the 1500s are all different, but what I'm doing is I'm torquing the caliper bracket bolts to 129 and the hex head, or not the hex head, but the Torx bit caliper guide bolts to 38 foot-pounds. That's what I'm doing for this. Make sure you know your spec and you do whatever's right for yours, because I don't know what you're gonna have, but that's what I'm doing on this. This is an 05 Chevy Tahoe 1500, so it should be right for the 1500 models, but I'm not exactly sure, so make sure it's right before you do it. This is going to be difficult. I want to make sure you put some Loctite on these bolts. Alright, so I see some conflicting things. So I think the front guide pin is actually 80 foot-pounds, and the rear was 31 or 38. Not exactly sure. I know one thing, it definitely was a lot tighter than 30 when I took it off. Unless it got squeezed in there, I don't know. Well, that's 80. So I went to 80. 80 seems alright. The torque bit's actually holding up. Guess I'll know if this one moves, right? Yeah, it'll move. Alright, so to be perfectly honest, I can't give you a bolt torque for that. I've seen so many different ones that I'm not exactly sure which one it is. So I'm sure if you search for them too, you'll find that there's probably people that'll tell you 35 different torque values. Anyway, so I'm gonna put the wheel on. Lug nut torque is 140 foot-pounds for this vehicle. It's four-wheel drive. I don't know if two-wheel drive's different, but four-wheel drive's 140 foot-pounds. And make sure you pump up your brakes before you try to move it, because these pads need to come in, otherwise you'll have no brakes for a couple of pumps and you might hit something. So I just pump the brakes up, and I always like to come back out and make sure I'm not locked up, and just to make sure that the caliper is freeing up after I push them, because I don't want to put them back together and then drive it and then have a wheel that's smoking. So that's how I usually do that.
Motors in too?
Yeah.
Well, those pads move.
Alright, so I'll do a crisscross pattern, and then I like to go around them until I don't get any movement out of the torque wrench. So that's how I did that. To be perfectly honest, the caliper guide bolt, I'm not exactly sure what the torque is, but so that's why I try to tell you, gotta do a little bit of your own research, because I don't know everything, but hopefully that kind of helps somebody. I'd like to thank everybody that's subscribed in the last couple of months. I appreciate it. It's a little bit of a motivation to continue to make some videos. I mean, I don't know how helpful they are, but I make the attempt. It's quite an investment of time and money for the equipment and stuff to do it. So anyway, I thank you for subscribing. I thank you for watching. And if this helped you, then great. If not, let me know what I need to do to be more helpful. I don't get a lot of comments, so it's hard to know what people are looking for with silence. But anyway, thanks for watching.